Welcome. When I wrote the description for this seminar, workshop, I described what I'd like to see and what I thought I was going to present. And the idea of Zen, Axure in this case, is that what you'll find, the first half of the presentation is nice and smooth and relatively Zen. And then we're all going to have to get quite Zen towards the end because it's going to get messy. I'm going to have to be Zen not to get too stressed out, and you're going to have to just bear with me. The idea is that it is a series of practical approaches to this thing. Clearly, we've got a massive range of different competencies in the room with Axure. So that presents an immediate problem. It's a problem that we identified when I first came to this, that you've got some experts like Stuart, who's done a 4-hour video of how to use Axure, and others that are just starting out. So what I'm hoping is that there's going to be something for everybody, perhaps maybe in the programming department, not for advanced users. I'm going to literally start with a very simple very simple ideas and build upon them towards something that even I sort of struggle to work out in the end, but I'll talk about that as we get there. I'm also going to try and show some examples of Axure which are, I'd say, a little bit unusual, so not your standard wireframe fare. This always happens with PowerPoint for some reason. I'm going to skip that one, and this, okay. I'm going to skip that one too. What did that say? There we go. Yes, right. One of the things that I immediately thought when I first saw Sandra presenting was the danger of telling people how to use all of the amazing stuff that Axure can do. The danger of prototyping for UXers. We can do amazing things. We can create incredible interactions. We can do very high fidelity stuff, and we can forget what it is that we're actually doing. I think that's what the slide before was, what it's about. What is it that we do as UXers? We come up with ideas, we solve problems, and then we communicate those to people. And that's the job. The job is solving problems and then getting it very clear for other people what it is that you're trying to do. And that's what I'm trying to focus on. So when we get too deep into prototyping too fast, we're immediately getting lost in the technology and not doing our job, which is to come up with brilliant ideas and then communicate those to other people. I think when we go too deep too fast, we maybe don't create enough quantity of ideas so that then we can't validate them. We're getting too deep into the quality of what we're doing and losing the ability to start kind of testing those, and that's where, we get lost. When we get too deep too fast, we get problems with maintenance. So someone asks us to make a change, and it takes you 2 days because you've got to unpick all these nested dynamic panels. And then you create this amazing prototype, and someone starts to ask really difficult questions about it, and that's where documentation comes along, and you've spent all your time, you've expended all your time, your project time, creating this incredible prototype that solves great problems. But the project is actually much wider than that, and then you've got to start unpicking it all, or cutting and pasting and creating a lot of documentation. So, there's a great danger, and I think we all really have to, those of you who've used it for a long time know about this very well. Those of you who haven't, it's a kind of a real warning. Be careful. Remember what it is that you're actually doing. You're solving problems, and you're communicating them to people. The joy of prototyping, on the other hand, is that you can test what you're doing, right? So at least the person who's designing it is testing it. That's a start. The stakeholders are testing it too. That's also good. Before we were doing prototyping, the wireframes didn't get tested, really, because you couldn't. could imagine what it was like. You could do paper prototypes and sort of shuffle paper around, but you couldn't really feel the experience of what it was like to click on this stuff and see the interactions and see what happens and see the transitions between one place and another. And the transitions between one screen and another is absolutely key to what we do. So, you know, in my opinion, absolutely vital to prototype. So it is really important, as long as you don't get lost and don't go too deep too fast. The other thing that I find often is serendipity, which is the, you know, fortunate discovery of almost like you make mistakes with the prototype and have ideas, which is also something that happens when you do a lot of sketching. You sketch, you look at the sketches, you see something else than you thought you were actually drawing. And so, excuse me, in prototyping, you often find the problems with your ideas, and you also find things occur that actually look really good and work really well and give you new ideas. So, you know, when you start to prototype, you solve one problem and you create a new one, and you get deeper and deeper into a real quality product. And I think micro interactions is absolutely key here. You know, the more that we get into rich interactivity on mobiles and widgets on pages, the more it's absolutely vital that these things move really beautifully. So what I'm going to try and do is just illustrate that point, the joy of prototyping. Sandra, would you mind if I had some water? I'm really sorry. Thank you. If we go to this, this is actually live, this widget. So I can show you it without getting you all to sign NDAs and stuff. It's a key bit of kit on the Virgin site, which is okay. By changing the resolution, we've gone down to a sort of mobile view, but that doesn't matter. I think we'll see it anyway. It's for checking your postcode and seeing what you can get, but when I know what I can do. Can I zoom out? Does that do it? Yay. Okay, great. All right, so it moves nicely. Yeah. The idea is it's a single widget. It has all the stuff in it that you need to either check if you can get service. Thanks, Sandra. And also find all of the contact numbers and stuff all in one place. We did a lot of design work and a lot of testing on various different examples, which I'll show you in a second. But you know, it clearly communicates what it's doing. It's slightly unusual in the way that it moves, but you don't get lost when you click on it. I don't know. I mean, you know, we tested some drop-down menus, and actually they tested better, but stakeholders preferred this. So, and so did Vodafone apparently, because Vodafone copied it terribly. It's exactly the same, but the micro interactions are all over the place, and you get completely lost. Micro interactions, the joy of prototyping, you know, that widget that you've just seen, I spent about 3 days prototyping it, and actually the developer who developed it prototyped it much faster in HTML. Except that he couldn't have done that if I hadn't done my 3 days in Axure. And the Axure prototype behaved almost exactly like what you saw. And I was able to do that. I was able to basically map out the animation, make it work, and actually using our transitions and things. I prefer ease out is my favorite, or ease in rather. You know, we all have our favorites, but you know, by using making it really behave and smoothly, and I was able to show the idea to the stakeholders and the developers to communicate exactly what I wanted for the movement, and the result was really nice. What else? Different levels of expertise we've already talked about. In my description of this presentation, I talked about cultural change, and this, I suppose, is where I was I'm alluding to the possibility of using Axure for all kinds of other things, things that you might not kind of expect them to do. So obviously we know about wireframing and prototyping actual digital products, but I've used Axure to stitch together applications in a company where they had loads of online applications that individual users needed to use many different pages from many different applications, and using iframes to create an interface to stitch together, help an individual user navigate a company's intranet. Okay, now if that sparks off some ideas, I'm not going to show you that because it's difficult to demonstrate. Socialization of ideas, that's what Axure is amazing for. I mean, the thing that it really does beautifully is, you know, punt things online so you can share it really easily, which means that I think what I was doing for internal comms, it is possible, and I'm going to show you an example in a minute, to create actual finished websites in Axure. I mean, I know it sounds like a radical idea, but I'm going to show you one. We're not talking about data-driven websites because it can't be data-driven, but if it's purely presentational, if it's purely information communication, why not? Because you can create beautiful things really fast. Well, I'll show you. Full screen. This, is it going to go full screen? Oh, I know, I've got to zoom out, haven't I? There we go. This is a customer experience educational piece. It's full fidelity, it's full responsive. So on a bigger screen, in fact, if I zoom out, you'll sort of see that it works at different resolutions quite happily. And it does some pretty crazy things. So, oh God. There you go. The idea is that you can read the different aspects of the customer journey. The text is getting a bit messed up because I'm zooming out, but it's a fully finished bit of internal comms which is being used in the company to induct new people, and it's got some interesting interactivity in it, which worked. In fact, the original thing on this was that it was created as a massive wall poster with all of these different sections and all these different, and it was vastly complicated. And of course, you can't really, it's not portable. You can't take it around. You can't get people to look at it. So this thing was designed to go on the intranet and explain all the different aspects of the different customer journeys. And in terms of what you can do with Axure, it's you know, it's not looking too bad, but it's in the final thing it's completely clean and finished. And there's some odd things going on here, which I'm going to sort of try and show you, but let me see if I can make it work. No, it's not working now. It's completely bombed. It's probably a good reason why you shouldn't do it. Okay. I did want to get into that a bit more. Let's try it again. There we go. So, yeah, interesting thing going on here. You've got your dynamic panels appearing and pushing things down. You can see that going on. In fact, you can make these dynamic panels appear in different orders depending on how you click on them, so you can customize the view that you have. And you've got your sticky header when you scroll up and down, and it's fully responsive. So if I kind of zoom out, you can see that everything goes out to the edges, and well, although it doesn't look so good now, does it? But in general, on most screens, it expands and fits really nicely. Yeah. Okay. Online documentation is where we try to take it all. So we, in terms of documentation per se and prototypes, we try to do away with actually PDFs and printouts and have all the developers working off our prototypes and off our online documentation, which then presented an interesting problem, which was navigating what the all of this landscape of stuff that we'd created, all of these different prototypes. Each prototype was for a different part of the website. How do you get an idea of this whole thing? It's vast. It's a vast domain. How do you move around it? You have to constantly send out these that use URLs. So in terms of cultural change, this was an idea, what I called the tube map, which was a complete simple map of the actual website, although it does actually have, all the other stuff, all the sub pages in it, and this thing was socialized to the whole company, and the idea here was that you could click on the darker tiles, the tiles that we'd actually created a prototype for. And so when you click on it, I haven't actually linked it up, but if I click on the checkout, I then arrive on something that looks very similar. I'm drilling down now into the flow, and so what we have there in the tube map is a complete map of the whole domain and a method for navigating all the work that we've done. And in fact, if you click on these tiles, it's programmed to, I don't know if I can actually show you this, it was almost certainly go wrong, but let's see. If I click on one of these tiles with that I haven't, it goes to the page in the website. So, you can send somebody that tube map and immediately you can find the prototype or you can find the page and everyone knows what they're talking about, because amazingly, we didn't have a map before this. And now we have a map online and navigating it. So hopefully that kind of gives you some ideas. 3 different approaches to cultural change within a company using Axure. You can stitch things together using iframes and very quickly put together your intranet mashups in Axure, and actually people can actually use that for their work. You can create these something like a tube map, which can navigate a whole landscape of different Axure prototypes, and internal comms. And I think the other one that we heard about last time, which was a style guide. Why not? When you can actually throw things onto a page so fast and socialize it so easily. Why not actually use it to start creating much more dynamic and intelligent communications within the company? Right. So that's my sort of cultural change bit. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Is that going to go? Right. So that's what that was about. So in terms of, I'm going to get onto some scripting in a minute, but in terms of for, let's say, beginner to intermediate, the solution design, designing how you're going to structure an Axure prototype is absolutely key. And when you're designing the way you're going to build something, especially if it's not a simple just point and click, for me, build and maintenance speed is absolutely key to think about. And so for if I'm talking to the intermediate users here, what I start to think about is not so much elegance is important. Elegance in programming means that you don't use repetitive instructions if you can help it. What Sandra was talking about, sort of abstraction. Instead of actually addressing a dynamic panel directly by name, you use this. That abstracts the code so you can reuse it. But build and maintenance speed is absolutely key. The number of clicks you use to go in and out of nested dynamic panels actually slows you down. I mean, every click is a brick in the wall, isn't it? So if you can actually build, if you can think about building your prototypes so that you don't have complex nested dynamic panels, which you're constantly clicking in and out, and then that's a good thing because it means that you'll build faster and you'll be able to maintain easier. So the way, and I understand this is very abstract at the moment, but you'll kind of get it as I go along. You know, the number of clicks you use to build the thing is how long, you know, in a sense, how long it's going to take you to build and maintain. And so if you can do it in less, that's cool. Prototypes is that, as you know, you end up doing quite simple little things that actually just make a project, just raise it beyond the mundane. And this one, this is an E contract which you have to sign at some point, and there's not much to it, but this little arrow, because I've reduced the resolution of the browser, it's jumping around a bit, but the point about it is it starts at the top, and as you scroll down, and it ends up at the bottom. It's not a big thing, but it makes all the difference between, you know, something that is, I mean, and you know, we did various different versions of this. How do you communicate something like that? How do you, you know, it's almost easier to do it in Axure than it is to try and talk to a developer and say, I want the arrow to start up there and end down there when you scroll. You know, it's not an easy thing to explain. You know, the flashing signature panel, does it work, does it not work? You know, when you build a prototype, you see these things, you see what's not working. You've got a signature panel down there. It's got to draw the eye. It's got to be absolutely unmissable, and you can try stuff out and make it work.